that the budget for Ministry of External Affairs is very low. It's only about 0.44% of India's total budget. And the panel recommended that this percentage should be increased to at least 1% of the total budget. And the reasoning was that 0.44% of the budget is not in line with India's rising aspirations and also not in line with India's growing global influence. So my question is, do you think this is sort of a disappointment to the Ministry of External Affairs, given our country's growing role on the world stage?
Question is very close to my heart.
And this recommendation of the parliamentary panel has not been accepted.
Yes.
So that is the...
And despite the fact that the panel was headed by BJP member, the ruling party. Well, I think enough is never enough. I mean, you can ask for whatever you want, whatever you have. It's always inadequate. Considering, I'll elaborate. Till recently, till about some few years ago, we were just about 660 officers, Indian Foreign Service officers. The numbers have only now come to about 1,000, and of course there is a supporting staff, secretarial staff, and other staff about 3,500 to 4,000. Considering, our grossly, the inadequacies were glaring. Imagine we have to manage the headquarters. We have to deal with 200 odd countries, our foreign policy formulations. We have 188 diplomatic presence all over the world, all of which we have 148 embassies. And it has been the lack of adequate funding which has stopped us from going to certain regions. For example, Baltic, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, we don't even have a single mission. Only now I think we have decided to open one embassy there. There are many other areas where we would probably like to have missions, and wherever in Africa, in our outreach towards Africa some years, in the wake of that, we have opened some small little minuscule diplomatic offices. Yes, we always need more than what is given to us, and this also is a fact. But then statistics are also very interesting. Sometimes they reveal what they reveal and what they conceal is also. It is true that when you talk in terms of percentages to the total budget, it is not closer to what the panel has recommended. But if you measure it in the quantitative terms, it is closer to what the ministry has been demanding. And I would just add one more thing, that the finance minister has so many organizations and a given amount of money, and he or she has to very judiciously distribute it so that everybody is able to get it. But the fact of the matter is that in the context of our aspirations, in the context of the role that we have already started playing on the global arena, there is a need to strengthen the target. There is a need for allocation of more funds. There is a need for opening more diplomatic missions. There is a need for increasing our development assistance and development cooperation program funding, because that's where, through loans and lines of credit and through outright grants, and then we can carry out operations like vaccine mapping or evacuation programs and so many other things. And in the cultural field, also, to enhance our cultural bonds, provide scholarships, etc., etc. Some more funding is needed, but I think the best manager is the one who can manage with whatever resources are put at his or her disposal.
Had been aspiring, and we had been asking the ministry to increase our administrative staff or number of IFS officers. I still distinctly remember when I was in Brazil in 2011, I read a study which said that for any sort of work being done by the foreign offices, India has 1 officer for that. Brazil has 4 and China has 8. I mean, the same work is being done by 8 Chinese officers or 4 Brazilian officers, which 1 Indian officer is supposed to do. So there is adequate shortage, of course. That has to be addressed, and that has been partly addressed, like he said, from 600 now, the number of officers in the Foreign Office is 1000 plus. Maybe, God willing, sometime in near future it will be more. But one thing that doesn't matter, because as a government servant, as a diplomat, we'll have to make do in whatever we have. One thing is bad, one thing is wanting, what I said, where again I support him, that we don't have enough funds to our disposal for many works, cultivating with the local people. Sometimes, sometimes people come, I want a football and 2 nets. Now it's very difficult. You give it from your paycheck, because government doesn't have any specific grant for that. So these things, as regards developmental assistance, etc. Yes, I agree that this time there has been a slash in the developmental aid, but then I am sure that it is budgeted thing. But if and when an emergency arises where we have to rush more aid or rush aid value much more than what is needed, the government takes care of that. That, like it happened in Sri Lanka last year. Budget to help Sri Lanka was small, but when the economic crisis was there, then there was no problem. So I am hopeful that very soon government will address these issues.